Hello, everyone, and welcome back in. It's Aaron St. Denis at FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast, brought to you by the combination of the Fantasy Football Universe and the new network, the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I'm back with another edition of 2024 Dynasty Risers and Fallers. Today I've got Hutch joining me. Hutch, how's it going, man?
Going good. How are you doing, man?
Living the dream. I've been doing this all day and I'm
Heck
exhausted. you get the
yeah.
prime mad scientist after I've done.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I saw the schedule I was on. I was like, man, he's going to a lot of shows already.
Yeah.
Let's
like
get one more.
14 today and like 12 yesterday.
Yeah.
You got me at the end of the day. You're my last one for the night, which is probably why I'm so happy because I can go to bed after this. But before we get into it here with your risers and fallers, you want to take a second, tell everyone where they can find your work.
Yeah, absolutely. You all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF, and I do work with football guys. I do work with DLF, and I do Hooked on Fantasy with Luke Sawhook. So if you like podcasts, you like fantasy football, check out me and Luke Sawhook's podcast, Hooked on Fantasy, wherever you get your shows. We live stream every Wednesday night on his Twitter.
You have a unique distinction for me. You are the only person on Twitter who I follow both them and their father. Your dad added me.
Yeah.
I look at you. I'm like, why do I recognize this? I'm like, I know that Brown, and I'm like, I forget what's your dad's first name.
Andy or Andrew.
Oh, I'm like Andy Brown, and then I'm like, oh, it's Hutch's dad. That's who it
is.
Yeah,
it's my dad. Yeah,
Hutch's dad. I mean, was a picture of you two and Des at the expo. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Hutch's dad.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not many people out there that follow me that don't follow my dad. I mean, actually, no, that's not true. I have a lot more followers than my dad, but like everybody knows my dad now because I always post videos because. You know, I mean, I'm not. There's not many 17-year-olds out there in the industry, so
no, there was only. You're the only 17-year-old, and I think there was Steve Bradshaw, who I think was 18. His dad, I think, came to the expo, but I think he just dropped him off. I don't think his dad stuck around. So,
oh, gotcha. You got a couple, but my dad always jumps in. We do the FS Showdown videos together. We do videos and stuff. He's always coming to the expos, and he came to Vegas with me for the football guys retreat we did. A football guys. The football guys took us out to Vegas. He came along with that. Dude, he's so involved in this industry now. It's hilarious, but it's
got a girlfriend doing videos or something, right?
I do, yeah. Me and
the whole damn family involved in film. I looked at one day, I was like,
yeah, dude.
And his girlfriend doing.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend Kate, we do. She's like an ice cream aholic, and we do. Every week I would associate ice cream flavor with the NFL logo based on the colors, and she'd pick an ice cream flavor, and as a result, that'd be picking the outcome of an NFL game. Dude, she was actually good. She ended up being like 15-6 on the season or something. Went all the way to the Super Bowl. Like she ended up being so good at it. It was so dumb. It was like, how does this keep happening? She kept getting it right. And at some point, someone put $50 down on the team she bet on. They won. Like someone said, Kate's always right. I got to put it down for this money, and they won.
But does that not sum up football and fantasy football?
Yeah, 100%. No, it totally does.
The dumbest crap wins it in the end. It's just like
it totally does, man.
It's dumb luck in the end. So
100%.
That's like that game where you go into Monday Night Football tied, and you have Jamar Chase and he has Juwan Jennings, and Juwan Jennings scores 2 touchdowns and you lose. It's like,
dude, I had a game this year. I had a game this year where I was going up against Marcus Gray in the Kings Classic League at the Expo. We did a draft, and it's a league. I needed Jaden Reed. It was week 5, I think. It was Monday Night Football. I need Jaden Reed to score less than 1.74 points. He scored 1.7 points. He had a catch for 7 yards, and that was it. Nothing else. Dude, it was unreal. Like, I watched his first catch. It was pretty early in the game, and it was like, oh my gosh, is that 7 or 8? Is that 7 or 8 yards? Is that 7 or 8 yards? And it was 7. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's still 7. Let's see if he can not get a catch the rest of the night. And he didn't get a catch. It was like, oh my goodness.
I told this story last year at the Expo, now that we've gotten completely sidetracked. Well, not this year, but last year, I was in Pat Fitzmaurice's SFB division. He missed the playoffs on the last game of the season by 0.04 on the Rondell Moore play where he carried the ball, lost 4 yards or something, and then was out with an injury for the rest of the game. That cost him the playoffs. He was up 0.1 and lost by 0.4 because of the negative half a yard or whatever the hell, or negative 5 yards, whatever the hell. That's how he lost. Rondell Moore losing 5 yards and then being knocked out of the game.
Wow.
Missed
That is
Scottish Bowl
unfortunate.
playoffs.
That is unfortunate.
I love it. All right, well, we've turned this into a bad beat show, so I guess we should get back
on. We did. Yeah,
15-minute show, and we're just talking bad beats. So your riser is Hollywood Brown. I was going to say Arizona Cardinals receiver, but we don't really know.
We don't really know.
He's played 5 seasons. He's been wide receiver 46, 36, 22. That was all in Baltimore. Then in Arizona, it was 44 and 52. Last year, he had 51 catches on 101 targets. That should tell you how great his quarterback play was. 574 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't like keep trade cut, but this time of year, I like to see how the general public values him. They value him 126th overall at wide receiver 51. Fantasy Pros is a little bit higher, 94th overall at wide receiver 43. Where do you value him? Do you have him? Are you closer to the wide receiver 43 or the wide receiver 51?
So I don't do official Dynasty rankings, but when I was looking at Fantasy Pros rankings earlier before this, and I was looking at, okay, consensus wise, about where would I have him? I'd probably have him like the 30, 35 range, somewhere around there. Definitely much higher than most consensus rankings have him. He's just too low value. I mean, looking at his talent, I mean, he can be a game changer. I mean, in Baltimore, even with the low passing volume, with how little they pass the ball, with Mark Andrews in his way, he was still able to put up a top 24 season. And looking at 2022 in his games where he actually had Kyler Murray, a reasonable quarterback, playing football, he was a top 8 fantasy wide receiver in the first 6 weeks of the season in 2022. And looking at this past season, in the first 5 weeks, 4 of his 5 games, he was 16 plus PPR fantasy points. He was a really good asset. And then the offense just fell apart. Joshua Dobbs was not Joshua Dobbing anymore. Like, it just kind of fell off. And then he got traded to Minnesota. And then Kyler came back, and it was just a whole situation. Then he got injured halfway through the season, and it just fell apart. Like, it's kind of tore apart in the second half of the season for him. But now he's a free agent. And obviously the Cardinals they're definitely at least interested in Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors in this draft. They're definitely looking at the wide receiver position because they just need it. They really, really do. And if they were to draft that position, they'd likely let Marquise Brown go. I don't think they're going to extend him to a big time contract or at least a 2-year deal. I don't think they would want to do that. So I would expect him to be gone. I mean, if he isn't, cool. He gets attached to Kyler Murray. He gets to stay in Kyler Murray's offense and potentially still be the number 1 wide receiver in the offense. That's great. Even if he's number 2, he could still be good for fantasy. But he has so much upside in free agency. I mean, this dude could be a Kansas City Chief. He could very realistically be a Kansas City Chief. An outside threat for Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball downfield to? Like, are you kidding? Like, that would be insane. That would be a great fantasy value. If you go to Carolina, obviously the quarterback play isn't great, but you have a target opportunity that is just unreal. And if Bryce Young were to bounce back with Marquise Brown, that's great. He's going to have a lot of targets, and he's going to have a solid quarterback to play with in Bryce Young. Yeah. Now, personally, I'm not 100% sure of Bryce Young, but the targets will be there no matter what. We know that. He just has so much upside in free agency to go somewhere. And I feel like no matter where he goes, there's going to be some reason to hype him up. And I feel like he's going to be worth more than he is right now. Because right now, keep track of, you're talking about the overall rankings. I was looking at trade calculators. Like, he's valued as like a mid of the pack 2nd round pick in a Superflex league. Yeah, like, that's easy. If you can get that deal off, easy. Early 2nd, easy. If you have the 112 in your dynasty league and you're getting close to the draft and it's getting really highly valued, that 112, I wouldn't mind if you sent that away for Marquise Brown. I think that's a kind of an overpay, but I wouldn't mind. But you can get away with a 2nd and a 2nd, a 3rd, or a 2nd, a 4th in most leagues. That'd be an easy deal. So Hollywood Brown is a really good buy to me. I'm all in on Hollywood.
I think his value is right now a reflection of the uncertainty. Like
100%. Yeah, I'm taking advantage of that uncertainty.
Yeah. So like 2 scenarios. If he stays in Arizona, I think people, between McBride emerging and either Neighbors or Marvin Harrison, I think that's what's putting him down a bit.
Yeah, I think that's the worst possible outcome. But the thing is, if they keep Marquise Brown and extend him that kind of contract that he may want, like, I feel like they would target some other position. They have so many needs on that team. They have so many needs. I feel like if they were to extend Marquise Brown to free agency, they would probably use him as their number 1 asset and maybe add a complimentary piece in the draft or in free agency.
Well, and then the unknown part is if he goes to free agency, which I assume he's going to, but what scenario could be worse? He had Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune as his quarterbacks last year. Bryce Young, even if Bryce Young isn't it's not a noticeable downgrade. Can you hear the Fortnite battle going on in the backyard or behind me? Is that coming through? Do you hear it?
Oh, I thought you were talking about my screen because I thought you were talking about mine because
Fortnite
my little brothers are my little brothers in the room behind me because this is my bedroom. His bedroom's right by me. He's literally playing Fortnite right now. So
I'm in the bedroom too, and he's on the other side of the door, and I can hear him yelling, I'm coming to get your reboot card. Sit. And so, he's quiet all day. I go live, and all of a sudden it's Fortnite
That's hilarious.
room, so.
No, I can't hear it. I can't
We're
hear
in
it.
that Fortnite group together, and everyone messages, hey, are you going to play? I can't ever get on. My kid doesn't leave Fortnite, so I can't get onto the damn Xbox. So he's playing on my account that I've had on Xbox since before you were born.
That's hilarious.
Can't get onto my own account. I went the other day. I went to tell Ronnie what my gamer tag was. Little bugger changed my gamer tag. I didn't even know what it was. So, once again, we've gotten sidetracked. So.
Unreal.
All right, I guess that's a perfect segue, if you want to call it that.
Perfect segue. They're so smooth.
To your fall, yeah, I'm pro at this. To your faller, who is, I guess it's going to be third-year running back here, if you want to count the first year. Third-year running back Kyren Williams from the Rams. He finished as running back 88. And then last year it was RB7, 1,144 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 32 catches for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. On KTC, RB6. On Fantasy Pros, RB7. KTC has him 26 overall. Fantasy Pros has him 18 overall. So either way, you are looking at a late second round pick at the worst and a top 6 running back. And I assume that's why he's going to be a faller for you, because if you look at the guys above him, Bijan, Brees, Gibbs, McCaffrey, Taylor, ETN, there's not really much room to go up. And if you look at the guys below him, and Achane, Walker, White, Cook, there seems to be quite a bit of room to go down. So what is it for Kyren for you?
Yeah, looking at Kyren Williams, for him, the story of his kind of running back, the story of his kind of, player, it's just so against him. When you look at late round running backs that come out and have good seasons, I'm just going to name a handful of guys, and this is just a few. Looking at James Robinson, looking at Dameon Pierce, looking at Michael Carter, like these guys that come out and have these great seasons in their rookie year, have really solid impacts. Tyler Algier, 1,000 rushing yards in his rookie year. These guys come out and have really impactful rookie seasons for their NFL teams. And then teams will go and draft a running back or add somebody impactful like that, and they're gone. Like it's just gone. Like the production just doesn't last. It doesn't go very far. And Kyren Williams, he isn't even a rookie. This is a second-year player. The Rams could have started him all last year because they had problems at their running back position. They were not a secure running football team.
Wasn't he hurt as a rookie, I think? Because he only played in 10 games. Yeah, he hurt his foot, but
he was hurt for a good chunk, but he still had games. He had all the offseason. He had opportunity, and he still didn't.
He's slow and small, and that's why even someone else had Kyren as their faller, and they said, well, nobody was smart enough to. Oh no, they had him as their riser, but they said no one was smart enough to handcuff Cam Akers, even though he looked like crap. We handcuffed Cam Akers. We handcuffed him to Zach Evans or Darnell Henderson because nobody thought anything of Kyren because he had no draft capital and no profile. And if you look, it's basically a high volume play where they just gave him every single running back touch.
Yeah, because they had no other option because Cam Akers, people forget they started the season with Cam Akers as their workhorse back. They saw everything in the offseason, everything that happened, and said, Cam Akers is our guy. That's what they said. They said Cam Akers is our guy. They gave him 22 opportunities, which he put up an abysmal 29 yards. And then eventually he doesn't get touches, and he gets traded to Minnesota. And then he's, unfortunately tears his Achilles again. Now his career is probably over. But now looking at Kyren Williams, when he played this year, remember he went down to injury, right?
Yep.
They could not start any of the guys on their current roster as a backup. They had to bring in Royce Freeman. They had to bring in Darrell Henderson, who they immediately cut when Kyren Williams came back.
Yeah,
they immediately cut Darrell Henderson when Kyren Williams came back. They immediately cut him. That's how much he meant to them. He immediately cut them. Like they just didn't have a running back outside of Kyren Williams that could do anything. They didn't have anyone relevant. So the best case scenario for Kyren Williams this offseason is they add a significant piece that will take away a lot of his workload. That's the best case scenario because they are not going in the season with the backfield the way it is. That's just not an option. They can't do that again.
He's RB6, and this just seems like a situation where he gets so much work. He's the RB6. This is foolproof. He's a first-round pick. He can't fail. Oh, they drafted someone on day 2. He's screwed.
Yeah, that's it.
Oops, we were wrong. Like Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier, Damian Pierce, Pacheco was kind of, but they didn't really replace him with anyone.
No, they didn't really replace him. He's another story that could actually work out. He's one that could work out.
Well, he's one of the rare ones, though. But still, in that
he's
class,
one of the very
there was
rare
3
ones.
I said sell: Algier, Pacheco, and who was the third one? Oh, Pierce. 2 of the 3 have completely bombed. I guess Algier
Robinson, Carter too. Robinson, Michael Carter. Those are also 2 guys.
Yeah.
Like, this story just happens over and over and over again, and it very rarely pans out at all. And I said the best case scenario is they add like a significant piece, like a solid piece. The worst case scenario is that he gets completely replaced, which is very reasonable. Like, Devin Singletary completely replaced Damian Pierce. Yeah. Travis Etienne, it took a little bit. He completely replaced James Robinson. James Robinson got injured to get there, but still. Bijan Robinson, if he didn't have a dumb coach in Arthur Smith, would have completely replaced Tyler Algier. The talent was just with Bijan 100% all the way. Breece Hall completely replaced Michael Carter after a certain amount of time. Like, it was just...
Carter had higher draft capital, too.
Carter had solid draft capital, too. Yeah, he was like a 3rd-round pick, I believe, right? Or 4th-round pick? He was right up there.
4th, I think. But that's the thing most of the fantasy community doesn't realize. Just because Kyren Williams was awesome for your fantasy team doesn't mean Sean McVay gives a damn.
They don't have tons of investment in him
whatsoever. Nothing.
They have no investment. They could easily and with the free agent class in this this free agency running back class, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, those names would completely crush Kyren Williams and be done. He could go from RB6 to like RB40 within the next handful of months. Like, legit, that's what could happen to him. He could legit be crushed. And that's not an asset you should be investing in.
He's the new guy. This was his first, real season, although it's not a rookie season. And then you say all the old guys that nobody wants that are free agents. They bring in Henry, Saquon, Mixon. I don't care how old and washed up they think Mixon and Henry are. Kyron's going to lose his job if either of those guys is who they sign. So it's just... I don't know. I think people overvalue these picks here, and they just assume they can never lose their job. And I don't think it's as secured as they think. And it's definitely not secure enough to warrant RB6 overall right now. It just seems too risky.
Yeah. And also, one last thing I'll say, looking at, his rank among running backs isn't great. I would still think it's too high. But looking at his Dynasty ADP, looking at all positions around him, the receivers that are going around him are just great assets.
Awesome.
Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Trey McBride, DJ Moore, Drake London, Tank Dell. These are all players that are going right around Kyren Williams in Dynasty.
Yep.
All of those receivers I would take over Kyren like that, because those players value. I mean, some of them could dip, obviously, but none of them have the floor that Kyren Williams has. Kyren Williams' floor is below the basement. It is underground. It is 6 feet under dead. Like, that is his floor. He could very easily be dead by the end of next season for fantasy.
It's all like Najee Harris rookie season was good. He had the draft capital, but his season was good because he was a volume monster. That's what Kyren was. Yep. He doesn't have the draft capital of Najee, and look how fast it evaporated for Najee all of a sudden. So to say that it can't happen for Kyren is ridiculous. And you're right. I'd just rather have any of those receivers in that. Don't get me wrong. I like 100%. Kyren. I'm just not paying mid-second round startup price for Kyren Williams. It's not happening.
I would agree. And it was genuinely, it was awesome watching him this year. He really had a good season, but there is so many things that should and probably will go wrong for Kyren that his price is just not worth it. If he was like RB12, okay, I could take that risk. I'd be a little bit more interested, but even with that price, I'm just like, no, I'm good. I would rather not. I'd just rather take any of those receivers and most running backs over him in that range.
All right. Before we get out of here, you want to take one more chance? Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, sure, man. Thank you again for having me on the show. Yeah, appreciate you. Y'all follow me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF. And I work with football guys. I work with DLF, do content for both of those teams over there. Awesome groups of people. And then me, Luke Sawhook, host Hooked on Fantasy, our podcast every week. Wednesday nights, we live stream. So I don't know. Actually, no, I'm not going to say tomorrow because I don't know when you're posting this. But on Wednesday nights, check us out. Live stream. Usually about
not in time for tomorrow.
You're not in time for tomorrow. Okay, I thought so. At 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays is usually when we record live streams on Luke's Twitter. And I'm just a teenager trying to make his way in the fantasy football industry. So any love or support anyway would be greatly appreciated.
Yep. Go over, follow Hutch, follow Hutch's dad. Follow the whole family.
Yeah, find my dad. I think he's at Hutch's dad on Twitter, so go find him. He's not on Twitter, though, so you can't really contact him. He barely goes on Twitter.
That's hilarious. All right, well, this concludes another edition of Dynasty Risers and Fallers with Hutchinson Brown today. Thank you for watching the Mad Science Lab podcast, hosted by the combination of the Fantasy Football Universe and the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I'm Aaron St. Denis, your host. Thank you all for tuning in, and thanks again to Hutch for joining. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.